Thank you for joining us today at Homestead for Life. Today we are making tomato sauce, spaghetti sauce really, out of all these tomatoes I have. So just a quick rundown of our ingredients. So we have our tomatoes, and I will have your quantities. I'll have that listed here for you, probably right here. So we have our tomatoes, we've got onion, we've got bell pepper, we've got garlic, we've got parsley, ground pepper, salt, basil, not basil, oregano, brown sugar, vegetable oil. Okay, so the first thing we are gonna do is blanch our tomatoes. So we are going to boil them for 30 to 60 seconds until the skins start to crack, and then we're gonna immediately put them in our ice bucket so it takes all the heat out and they don't continue to cook. Okay, so batch one. All right, so they've been in there for about a minute. We're gonna skim them out, put them in our ice bath. The ice bath is to stop them from cooking. So the goal here is just soften the skins so that the skins will separate easily later. So we want to get these out just as quick as we can. And another note, these are not your typical canning tomatoes. So there are different varieties of tomatoes that are better for canning than various other recipes, I suppose you would say. I am using a mix of different Village Farms brand greenhouse grown tomatoes, because this is what I have. There was recently a fair in town, or I don't know, big agricultural vegetable event, and I got a lot of tomatoes. So we are using what we have. And these tomatoes are fantastic, but I have not ever made sauce out of them. But especially like these little ones are just nice to snack on. So we've got a lot more tomatoes to blanch, so I will see you when we're done with this step. So the next step is to core and quarter all of our tomatoes. If you have a corer, well, good for you. I don't, so we are just going to do it with a knife. And pretty much as we're quartering them, the knife is just going to pull the skins right off. That's fine. Now again, because these tomatoes are not, at least most of these tomatoes are not really meant for canning, like these little tiny ones. Amazing in a salad, super tasty tomatoes. They're already pretty small, so I'm just going to cut them in half and throw them in the bucket. But if you are going to make tomato sauce intentionally and planned, and you're buying tomatoes or growing tomatoes for it, do some research and find the best ones for that. The medium-sized ones I had in here, and I will put the name of it in the bottom. These ones split. Most of them did split while they were in the boiling water, just like they're supposed to. The skins peel off. They are beautiful. So these are the ones more made for canning. So I'll put the name down in the description because I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But I will see you in a minute. Okay, so now we are going to bring our cored and quartered tomatoes to a boil. And then once they're boiling, we are going to simmer them for 20 minutes. And then we put them through a sieve to get all the chunks out. All right. Okay, so our tomatoes have been simmering for 20 minutes. So we are going to put them through our juicer to separate out all the seeds and skins and just get the juice out of it. So here we go. to get our veggies sauteed. So we've got our little bit of oil in here, and I'll put the measurements up, don't worry. And we just want to saute these until they are tender. And then we're going to add in the rest of our ingredients, our seasonings. And then we add back in the tomato sauce. So we're going to let these go. Garlic down. We're going to let these go while we finish juicing our tomatoes. If you don't have a juicer, you can put it through a sieve or a food mill. All right, our peppers and onions and garlic are nice and tender. So we're going to add the rest of our seasonings and our tomatoes. And we are going to let this basically thicken up to your desired thickness, whatever that looks like. And then we're going to can it. So let's carefully pour this in. Hopefully not spill any or wear any. All right. I don't think I spilled or wore any. Sweet. All right. So we are going to keep stirring this, make sure none of it gets burnt to the bottom of the pan, and wait for it to thicken up. Alrighty, so our spaghetti sauce has reduced by more than half. So we are going to can it up and get it in our cooker. So essentially we are just going to scoop it into our jars. We want to leave 1 inch headspace. And then we will clean the rims, throw the lids and the rings on there, and then throw it in our pressure canner for 20 minutes. So we've got our jars at 1 inch of headspace. So we are going to wipe down the rims with our distilled white vinegar to make sure that our lids can seal all nice and snug. There's no obstructions or anything in the way, no oils from my fingers, nothing crazy to stop the seal. Our lids in the meantime have been simmering away in our hot water. This is to make sure that whatever glue or wax or whatever magic stuff they have on these lids is nice and soft, so it is ready to seal when we need it. All right, so we're going to take the rest of our vinegar, we're going to pour it in there. That should keep or help keep the jars from getting foggy. We're going to take our hot water from the lids, pour it in there. So we've got plenty of hot water. Remember, so we've got hot water, hot tomato sauce, spaghetti sauce, and our cans were also heated, so we ran those through the sanitize function on the dishwasher. They were already clean. So we've got them sanitized and then heated up so they are ready to go. So we've got our canner loaded. We're going to close it, seal it, switch it to exhaust, and set our timer for 20 minutes. High. Goes really fast when I can't read it very well from this angle. Okay, 20 minutes and start. Okay, so we are down to E1, so we are going to flip the switch to airtight. And then once it finally finalizes that pressure, it's going to start our countdown timer. Okay, so our timer has gone off. We are going to unplug it and let it sit for an hour, but I'm going to sleep, so it's going to sit until tomorrow morning. We will check it out then. Good morning and welcome back. So now we are going to test our jars, check our jars. So it's had all night to cool off. So let's see what we got. All right, so they did leak a little bit. So you are going to find that sometimes the food kind of leaks out a little bit of your jars. You'll see it around the rims. You'll see it boil down if it's still processing after its time on the counter. Sometimes that is because you did not fill to the proper headspace. Sometimes it's because it's applesauce. And sometimes it's anywhere in between, right? So some things will just boil a little bit extra. So to make sure that anything that leaked out is okay, what you're gonna do is make sure you can hold it by the lids, that lid has sealed, that nothing that kind of leaked out of the jar has gotten between the rim of the jar and the lid to stop it from sealing properly. So all of these sealed properly. They all feel good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna wash the jar and make sure that any food that's leaked out is not gonna sit on our shelves and grow bacteria on it. Okay, so fully successful batch, very small batch, but can't complain. 3 jars of tomato sauce off of free tomatoes. So I'm excited to try these. Thank you for joining us today.